Okay, so you can tell this is the In the Cage lead, as heard on Three Sides Live. Played with the lead section of the Quadra, the ARP Quadra. I worked this up. I tried to work this up in real time in another video, and I made so many weird errors. I'm just kind of going to recreate it for you. So, couple things. I noticed that it's not duophonic. It's monophonic. Now, on an Odyssey, you have to plug these little tiny like 1/8-inch patch cables into gate controls. I forget what it is off the top of my head. But you can defeat the monophonic mode by leaving in cables. And on this plugin, I can just make it mono. On the Quadra, I forget what the switch was, but I think there was like a lead section, 1-voice, 2-voice mode. So this right now is playing I play one note and it's both oscillators. Now, I can tell you right away that no matter how cool this plugin is, we will never capture the magic of the exact tuning drift of the two oscillators as they lock in and out of phase that you just heard on that Three Sides Live recording. This is the remixed version of Three Sides Live, the Nick Davis remix. And I'm sure if you listen to different tours that he played in the Cage with, radio shows, board tapes, audience recordings, I've listened to all that stuff for research for this band. And they're always a little bit different. So try as we might, the phase locking of the oscillators, it's just magic. And I get it on my real Odysseys, and I'm sure you get it on a Quadra too if you had it, right? So this plugin, I'm not even going to go too crazy to do that, except I can tell in middle C, it's pretty locked in, and then an octave higher. Well, I can hear the beating. Listen, 2 octaves below middle C. Okay, so there's a lot of beating. Maybe you can mess with the fine tuning and get it right exactly where you want it. I'm not going to go that crazy. So I have it in mono mode. I have it in, I have the portamento up about, what does it say, 1.62? Yeah, sounds good. Let's talk about the envelope. So on the Quadra, there were presets in that I think the way it worked with the ADSR was there was an on-off button under each one. So if you had it off, it would defeat it, I guess, like in its default mode, which is all the way in one direction or the other. And then if you press it on, it would be where you left it. So we could replicate that if we wanted. So right now, the VCA, which is the volume swelling of the note, can either be affected by the AR envelope, attack release, which is nothing, right? So if I put that on, the volume's all the way up. So I'm not going to get into how an Odyssey works. Let's just say that you kind of know a little bit. So I have that on, and it's this envelope. Oh, right now the filter. Hold on. Let me put it on the filter too. Okay. So if I want to default back to the settings, I could leave that flat and then make that my preset. It all depends are you going to create a preset for every moment of the song, or are you going to do these changes live in real time? So it is my opinion that a little bit of maybe it's all attack. There's a little bit of release. I can kind of tell that when he in moments of rest, And then in long notes, I can hear it decay. I think he was probably modeling the long decay on the fuzz guitar sound on the Pro Soloist. Sounds like there's a very kind of a hard cutoff. So I have a little bit of release on it. Now these long notes, I'm hearing oh, 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 oh. So So I have the sustain down instead of all the way. I have the decay about 50%. Okay, so it could be dialed in more probably. The other thing I'm doing is I took the cutoff frequency all the way down, and I have I'm not really good at explaining the physics of this, but what is this at? 8.82. If I bring this down, there's nothing, right? So let me open up the filter. Now I'm going to let the envelope do the heavy lifting. ADSR on for the filter. I don't think the sound is that bright. That's why I had it 8.8 whatever. I think that's pretty good. There is a moment where the vibrato kicks on. Let me talk about the Quadra vibrato. If you're familiar with a 2600, I just got the Gray Meanie from Behringer. I'm really excited. I'll probably do a video with that. There's a lot of other stuff to learn, but a lot of synthesizers have a vibrato, an LFO dedicated to the vibrato. And you can choose the speed, how much is mixing into the sound, and then there's a delay, an onset delay, done in milliseconds, where I hit the note and then after a few seconds the vibrato kicks in, like a singer or like a woodwind player or a guitar player. And that's what's going on the Quadra. That does not happen on an Odyssey. You can do frequency modulation like I can do. Let me pull this up. And that's the speed, and that's how much. Right, but I can't, and since it's two oscillators, I need to grab them at the same time to physically do it. It's just really hard. So you could do this. You could do that little button there. Let's see. Oh, I think it's routed to my mod wheel. So. So if I'm using this, a workaround, since I cannot do a delay onset, I would probably assign aftertouch to this. So whatever is going on in my mod wheel, I would route that to aftertouch, and it would tell this to go up. So that's the only other thing that I would have to do. I'm not going to do that now because how you do it might depend on your hardware and your software. So I do want to talk a little bit more about this sound and what changes. I can hear the vibrato kick in right there, the longer the note. And that's present in Cinema Show, which makes sense because the violin preset on the Pro Soloist has that built in. So he keeps that on throughout the medley. So since we know that he has the delay onset vibrato LFO on earlier in the song, I believe it's the Lyceum video. It's the funny thing about the handful of Genesis video there is out there. There's always someone that's like, angle 17 in this video, you see his foot move, you know. It's like, oh, that's another piece of the puzzle. So I've seen in the Lyceum that right when he hits that high note, he goes tap with his other hand. He hits a note. I'm sorry, he hits a button on the Quadra. I suspect he's hitting the preset in either the decay, the sustain, or both, so that note doesn't die down. Click it off, and then that note is just ringing, and then you hear the vibrato kick in. I think I did that in my video, my In the Cage video, where I stand up and reach, and I hope I grab the right slider. So that is another, you could make another preset where the ADSR is different, or you could assign it to a switch or like a foot switch or something like that to flip those up. So I'll leave that up to you guys. So there is my In the Cage preset. I just finished my In the Cage video. Let's keep going in the medley because he would have been changing those sounds in real time. So if you've ever wondered, why did Genesis do this live, right? If you've been a Genesis fan and you've listened to the live recordings and done the concerts, and you're always like, why on earth did they do that weird thing? It's all equipment related. I've analyzed it all. It's all guitar tunings, guitar switches, keyboard geography, updated keyboards with a different control, hitting a patch, tuning something. There's always a reason for it, whether you like it or not. So why didn't they just do all of Cinema Show? Well, didn't Tony say this was the best bit? So during that whole section, Phil is climbing over the drum riser, and Tony is holding the organ sound with his left hand, and his right hand is furiously moving controls on the Quadra. So let's see how the sound is different from what I just did. Okay, did you hear that long attack? Now, if you've ever played if you've ever had the misfortune to play a pro soloist, that's probably heresy, but they're a really goofy keyboard. But the violin preset has a long attack, and then if you continue to play legato, that attack is gone. So it's still a square. I'm sorry, it's still a sawtooth. It's never a square. I believe on the although the violin sound is a pulse wave sound on the Pro Soloist, and I think even when they did Cinema Show in 1978, you have a third oscillator on the 2600. So I think he was changing patches. And he had a pulse all set up and ready to go. He really did pull off a lot of those sounds on the 2600, which is a feat. So here, I think he just changed something in the amp envelope. So let's listen to it. Okay, so let's get that. Doesn't quite sound right, but let's do it as a play. Okay, there is no decay. Let's turn that off. Let's just keep the sustain on. think he still left the portamento on. That tuning is going to drive me nuts. So if you remember my In the Cage video, I was talking about the phase locking. So I just tweaked one of the oscillator's frequency. Too much beating there. I think I got it. I'm not playing the organ sound currently, so I'm going to roll in with my mod wheel the LFO for the vibrato, which, remember in the other video we said we would assign that to aftertouch. By the way, there may be in Logic or main stage or whatever you're using, there is probably an LFO that we can add in here. I'll find it. One of you is going to pipe in and say, hey, I love this LFO. And there probably is. Okay. So if you're using Korg in standalone, you find some way, but maybe we'll do that in another video. We will assign an LFO vibrato with a delayed onset in a MIDI FX plugin. I don't know what they are. Now I can't stop thinking about it. No. Input event. It's probably not. Probably not. Modulator. Oh, look at that. Oh. Offset. Guys. Ooh, that's weird though. It's like pumping that. Okay. Note to self, we will come back to that. But I think if you're using main stage, which a lot of you might, that's the way to do it. Maybe that's the way I'll do it. But for now, I'm going to use the mod wheel, which Tony couldn't do, which is why he liked Quadras. That was just Tony. Now me. I think that sounds pretty good. There's just the matter of that LFO, which I think is easily solved. I also really think fine-tuning one of those oscillators in the range that I'm going to play is probably the smart thing to do. I figured out how to do the LFO using what's on the Odyssey. So I did use a MIDI plugin modifier, input event in the drop-down menu is aftertouch, reassigned to mod wheel. So if the mod wheel is default routed to the proportional pitch control of the Odyssey plugin, it would be like using aftertouch to do the wheel. However, check this out. The deepest, most extreme setting of the mod wheel is too much vibrato. So on the scale, just roll it back. So it's like pushing it like a quarter of the way down. So I don't think that's what Tony's doing on the Quadra. However, and he wouldn't actually have been doing it on the Pro Soloist because that LFO vibrato was built into the preset. However, the Pro Soloist did have aftertouch vibrato. You know, if you listen to things like a Waiting Room. So if you don't mind doing a little extra work while playing Cinema Show, your left hand's on the organ, your right hand is doing the lead. If you have a keyboard with aftertouch. The nice thing about finding an LFO plugin, which I'll try to do, is you can just set the default offset, and then never have to think about it again. So, you know, depending on how you like to play, it's nice to have those options. Moving on in the medley, when they get to the arpeggiated part. Okay, I'm hearing a couple things. First of all, there's no swell like the violin patch. We want to make this sound more like the trumpet patch on the Pro Soloist. So right now, nope. I also think there is more release. Let's listen to that riff again. Now, because we don't have the LFO automatically going, when I let go of the key, the vibrato disappears. That's probably not cool. The other thing is it's sounding like maybe it's in duophonic mode. When you play fast notes like that and you hear a little wah wah wah, a little so. Oh, it's definitely in duophonic mode. Duh. So duophonic mode has to be on at this point. Maybe it was on the whole time. And because we've got to play the two notes, right? So maybe during that little when Rutherford goes high up on the neck, dun, 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 Tony goes duo mode because I'm going to play two notes, and then raises the release, makes the attack 0. I'm going, oh my God, this part's hard. I haven't played this since I made my video. That was a very academic exercise. I made mistakes on purpose so you could tell my preset from his. No, I just made a bunch of mistakes. But listen to this. Hear that like weird attack? That's the duo mode. That's just voltage going everywhere. I think Korg did a nice job doing that unpredictability. Let's see. There it is. Now I'm in duophonic mode. Can't do that on a pro soloist. You could do it on a 2600. You could do it on a Quadra. So if you're listening to different bootlegs and wonder why whatever's going on, that's it. So hear that interaction between the two voices and the portamento, depending on what key you let go of. Now I'm going to let go of the bottom key first. Now I'm going to let go of the top key. So it's a little bit weird. That happens with Follow You, Follow Me also. You just have to kind of find your best way to play with it. It happens with Abacab too. Whoa. I think it's a little too perfect. Doing it on the real analog 2 oscillators, it's a little weirder sounding. Like it goes from perfect to weird. I think there's I have a thunderstorm outside. Then you play monophonically, but you still have it on duo. Then back to duophonic. And now the transition to Slippermen. Whoa. I don't think he holds it that long. So let's just keep going. I'm going to now do the trick with Slippermen. All right, let's conclude the replicating the Quadra lead sounds played in the Cage medley as heard on 3 Sides Live. We did In the Cage, and then we did a few patches for Cinema Show. So if you are curious about how we got here, there are other videos earlier on. I'm also doing this in the middle of a lightning storm, and I hear some static coming through my speakers. So the whole time I was doing In the Cage and Cinema Show, I was only in the 1 channel on Logic, which I was using this one instance of the Korg ARP Odyssey plugin. And all the sounds I've done so far did not use the most vexing feature, one of the coolest features of the Quadra, but vexing to replicate, which is dual portamento. When you have these portamento switches, they are portamento for both oscillators. I guess everything, right? The noise oscillator. I don't think I've ever tried that, but it's just a single portamento control. And even on the ARP 2600, this was the case. Although I believe with the voltage mixer and slew controls, I'm actually learning how to do that when I'm not doing these videos. You can do that. So here, what I done on my videos, I used my previous videos on my previous live setup, like 2018, 2019 live shows. I used 2 Odysseys. And I ran the audio out of one into the other. I had a MIDI thing going on. I had the volume of 1 down and 1 up, and I literally had the portamento on one of the synths and off on the other synth. So that was a lot to handle. So let's do it in plugins. Well, if I'm just using this plugin, which I think so far has done a really good job to getting all of his Quadra leads, we will need 2 instances. I'm going to do this in main stage, but I'm doing it in Logic so we can hear all the different tracks from 3 Sides Live. So you just have to do how it works for you. So what I will do is this is my track 1, this is my track 2. Let me go into my users and bring up the same thing. So now the same preset is on both of my Odysseys. Let me unmute it, and then I'm going to shift click so both of these are playing. Okay, you ready for this? Oh, that was more thunder. Okay, this is the mixer. This is the audio for this. Oh, sorry, this is the volume slider for this oscillator, and this is the volume slider for this one. So I label these tracks at the beginning of this session, oscillator 1 and 2. So here's oscillator 1, oscillator 2, all the way down. Here is track 2, oscillator 1, all the way down. So if I bring both, let me just mute this. So I'm gonna, here's oscillator 1. Whoops. Unshift. Oh man, that's close to fourth or fifth, right? So I'm going to turn the portamento up kind of obnoxious. So that bad boy is sliding all over the place. Now, here is oscillator 2 on the other instance. Let's turn the portamento all the way down. Maybe this would be cool if I put it in mono mode, but I don't think Tony did that. And he had the release pretty high. If you watch the videos of him playing Slippermen in either Lyceum or Three Sides Live, you see that he's taking his hand off the keys and the sound is still going, right? So I'm going to assume that he had that long decay. He may also have the, release. He had a long release. He may also have a decay on there. I'm going to have to listen to that. Boy, I'm getting a lot of static electricity. There's a big lightning storm going outside. Sorry about that. So now let's unmute. And the way Logic works, I've just got to have these both on here. So one oscillator is hitting the pitch right away. The other one, lot of wrong notes, sorry. Now let's hear how I did. There is a decay. So let's bring the sustain down. Check that out. I think the decay moves a little faster. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I'm going to play along with it this time. this is too much. I don't know. I think it sounds cool when there's a lot of it. That's almost too polite, isn't it? So I think that's a pretty good Slippermen sound. Whatever. And so let's save that. Now, look at how I have to do this. Slippermen. And then on this instance, Slippermen OS 2. So I don't know. Should I make these presets available to the public? I probably will. So I've got like the first part of Cinema Show, then the next part, and this is simultaneous Slippermen. So you could do just one oscillator and do like your Pro Soloist version, but the Three Sides Live version is so cool and is one of the many great uses of the dual oscillator, the dual portamento for each oscillator that he did on the Quadra. So all right, so it's probably like an hour of me talking about the Three Sides Live medley leads. I'll do some others for some of the other sounds. Thanks for hanging out with me.